The topic of racial injustice has swarmed headlines. It's also highlighted the disconnect between law enforcement and the very people they're sworn to serve and protect.
So tonight we explore that divide, moving away from the message of the protests for a moment and talking with those who know firsthand what it's like working on the streets.
Here's Denver 7's Eric Lufer.
Everybody clap your hands.
People have spoken. They have really spoken.
It seems the gap between officer and citizen has widened.
Our society needs to also step up and realize these officers did not sign up for this job to hurt people. They did not sign up to go out and make bad decisions.
Racism and police brutality are front and center in our society again.
I have no doubt about that George Floyd died under the knee of a kneeling down police officer, and I can't remember a time in my training where that was acceptable.
You just heard from 3 people. They all spent time in law enforcement, 60 plus years if you combine their time of service together. They're out of the force now and opening up like never before. Recently retired Aurora Police Chief Nick Metz grew up 2 blocks from where George Floyd was killed in Minneapolis.
That was an incredibly disturbing thing for me to watch for a couple of reasons. One is watching it and knowing that those officers should have done something different. They should have heard him. There were so many opportunities there to have made that situation right, where we never would have heard about that particular incident.
Metz believes change has to happen, that departments will have to dig deep to create real change while maintaining officer morale, something Metz believes is low right now.
It's incredibly difficult to see the hurt that they're feeling. That whole thing of I'm being lumped into something that these folks over in Minneapolis did, and I'm being spit on, I'm being called names, I'm being told to kill myself, I'm being told that they're going to rape my families. It is incredibly difficult for them to see that and watch that.
Which brings us to these 2 former officers who wanted to keep their identities hidden for this story. One of them, a black female.
I don't feel like racism runs rampant in law enforcement.
But she does acknowledge there is a brotherhood, and a strong one at that.
I felt like the thin blue line and the code that we share as officers was important. It was important to me for that, so that I could trust officers and they could trust me. And I didn't want to be perceived as an angry black woman.
In tense times like these, this former officer says we can't forget about the sacrifices of all the men and women in blue.
When you put that uniform on, there's a life always going to every call, and that's yours. And a life that you and your brothers and sisters out there want to protect.
In moving forward to better days, there's one common solution according to these 2, and that's education.
The average police officer spends countless hours in post-certified training, driving a car, shooting a gun. But why can we not have 40 hours devoted to social, emotional, cultural diversity, a social studies class?
How does the average citizen learn what I'm supposed to do when an officer confronts me? There's no training out there. There's no schooling for that. We don't teach that in our society.
No justice! No peace!
Right now, society is at a turning point.
We have to be able to listen, and we have to be able to listen to the perspectives.
We're all human. We are all human, and we're all in this together. And no matter what happens, none of that's going to change.
I'm Eric Lufer, Denver 7.